Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching this show from. My name is Denise Belisle, and I'm a serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. Welcome to the It's All Good. Lucas here for a chat. Today on my show, I have Theresa Sperling, and she's a speaking coach. Speaking coach. And I'm super excited to have her here today because I love speaking. So any tips or hint that I can get more, I think it's amazing. And I'll let her introduce herself a little bit later. But first, let me introduce this show, which I call It's All Good. So the main reason why I call it It's All Good is because my favorite cup, It's All Good. If I ever break that cup, I'll have to glue it with gold and make it, very special. Right now, it's still very special. And why it's all good? It's a way of living. It's a way of thinking. Think of your life of situation that you go through, and you might find that a little bit difficult. What if you were to say it's all good instead of spiraling down into negative thinking and being caught up in, a turbulence of negative emotion? What if you were to take a step back and say, it's all good, and not worrying about it? Yes, of course, sometimes we need to resolve situation, we need to work through situation, but worrying about it, it's totally different. The worry, that's what creates stress, and multiple level of worrying. You're worrying about your bills, you're worrying about the computer that just crashed, you're worrying about the traffic, you're worrying about a presentation you might have to do, and all these worry are stacking up one by one, and all that cause is sustained stress. And what I say to that is, it's all good, because there's no point stressing out over life, because if it's in the past, you can't change it. And if it's in the future, you can work towards it, but by being present today, because you can't predict the future. There'll be stuff that's going to happen, but you can't change that. So that's why I call it It's All Good. So let me bring my guest, Theresa, and I'm super excited to have her here. So here she comes. Welcome, Theresa. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Such a pleasure to have you. How are
Thank
you?
Denise. I think that was a mic drop moment, what you just said. All of that. Boom, drop the mic. You're done, right?
Yes, but
You delivered the message of the day for us.
absolutely. And that's my way of thinking, right? Regardless of what happened, you can't change the past, and you can't predict the future. Shit will happen, excuse my French, but it happens, right? So there's not much we can do about things we can't change. So we just gotta move on, live the life, be present, maybe plan for the future. Planning is awesome. You need to plan, you need to have goals, but
Sure, yes.
being
Learn from those things,
overreactive
right?
towards it, that doesn't help.
Yeah, if we learn from those things, we can do better in the future.
Yes. So Theresa, please
That's what I
introduce
think.
yourself. Tell us who you are. And our theme today, I'm just going to bring that up. Our theme today is, what did we say? We say signature talked, what they are and
Yes.
why they are important. Signature talk
Yes.
is the talk you give every time you speak. You also talk and take information from it for every speaking opportunity. So it's pretty amazing. So please, Theresa, tell us who
Yes.
you are and what you do, and then we'll start talking about that theme of us today.
About our signature talks. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Denise. It's all good to be here. I am excited to be here. So my name is Theresa Sperling. I am located in the Chicago area, but I certainly work with people all over the place as long as they speak English, because I don't speak any other languages. I wish I did. So I'm a public speaking coach. And what that means is I help people with their speaking. I also educate people on what an amazing marketing tool speaking is, particularly for your business, or if you have a nonprofit, or maybe you have some type of social cause or passion project. So whenever you need to get the word out and bring attention to it and get people rallied behind you, I can help you get the word out and prepare you for any type of speaking opportunity, something just like this, or maybe you're going and speaking before a group, anything.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And sometimes people say, well, I'm not a speaker. And yet they talk all day long, right?
Right. Yes.
Because
Yes, they don't know when to stop.
but the thing is, we talk all the time. And I've heard people, even professional people, that talk and they put all the filler words in there and they and like this and like that. And any one of you could take lesson on being with a speaker coach, because there's all these things, there's all these little things. Also I learned a lot from Toastmasters. I've been with Toastmasters for over 10 years now, and it taught me a lot about public speaking.
Yes.
So tell us, how do you get into this field of work, and how did you get started wanting to help other people with that?
Well, I've been helping people for a really long time with it. I've been mentoring with speaking and leadership, and a lot of that started with Toastmasters for about 10 or 12 years. I forget now. It was so long ago. Such a long time. I just stepped back about a year ago because I needed to really focus more on my business and some other things that were going on in my life. And I was, how ironic, I wasn't able to speak as much as at my Toast Club. So anyway, it all started back then with really mentoring and doing a lot of the evaluations, the feedback, and I found out I was really good at it. I was tapped to do that quite a lot. For people who aren't familiar with Toastmasters, a lot of times you give not a lot of times, in every meeting there are prepared speeches, and then we do feedback, because there's always room for improvement, and true in everything we do. But so regardless of where your speaking level, if you are a world champion speaker or just starting out, and I've worked with both. I actually have had a world champion speaker. I won't say the name, but I'm sure you would know it, Denise. I was part of an evaluation team for a new launch for him. So that was really exciting, and I was asked to be there. The point is, I work with people from wherever level they are, wherever they start, and then we move on from there for where you would like to be and what you would like to accomplish.
Yeah, from the regular Joe that wants to give his speech at his wedding, to that never going to be speaking in public after, to someone that want to be international stage, or the president of Canada, for example, right? The prime minister of Canada.
Right.
You never know,
Right. And primarily right now, I've been working with small business owners that are going to different networking groups.
Yeah.
And the thing that they really need, or they struggle with, is that marketing mess or seconds. And a lot of times what I see is people get up, they blah, 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 and then they almost dive for their, because I'm like, I'm done now, right? I get to run to my, so we work on that. And really,
I hope nobody come and talk to me, right?
Right. Oh my gosh, it's over with. Great, I did it. I survived. But what I like to do is get people comfortable with that and realize that's your time on stage. You really need to take advantage of it and utilize it so that you're making the most of that time in front of people.
Yeah.
Nobody who's done.
Yeah, and it's a moment for you. It's your 30 seconds, 60 minutes, 60 seconds of prime time just for you, right? So, and that's why it can be a little bit stressful. Can be a bit stressful, but at the same time, it's your moment to, it's important to do that little 30 or 60-second introduction, because that's that little time you have to catch people's attention. And even online, I mean, you need to really get something catchy, because people are like, you do your introduction and I'm like, yeah. Oh, that's great on Facebook, like whatever. They don't really pay attention, right? So you want to catch people's attention. So that leads to people.
Hard to keep too. That's so important, to keep people's attention. that you want to make sure you're very short, sweet, and to the point, and they're paying attention to you and say, I want more from you. That is the key with any time we're speaking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Mhm.
But that leads to people starting into their business, starting to do introduction and networking event. And then eventually they're being asked like, oh, I love what you do. Would you like to come and speak on my networking event? And then you're like, really? And then that leads me to my question is like, what do I talk about? And then
Right.
we talked about signature talk. So what is a signature talk?
So a signature talk, first of all, I like to call it an ATM talk. If it's done right, it'll work like the ATMs and pay you over and over and over again. So I refer to it as an ATM talk, but most people do know it as a signature talk. The best way I can explain it is the foundation of your marketing plan for your business, your cause, whichever category you fall into. Let's just say business for the sake of time today.
Yeah.
It is your foundation. Once you put the work in.
Oh, you're frozen a little bit. So you said once you put your work into it, you were frozen a little bit.
Oh, yes. So once you put the work into it, then you have this talk, and you're giving the same talk over and over and over again, which people may say, oh, well, that gets boring. I don't want to do that. Well, you tweak it so that it makes sense for your audience. But the point is, the majority of your talk is done. You don't have to think, what am I going to say? What do I talk about? You know what you're going to talk about because you have this foundational amount of information put together.
Yeah. And I think that's also something that it's, as you said, it's the foundation, but sometimes we're being given 5 minutes. Sometimes we're being given 15 minutes. And sometimes it's like, hey, go wild and crazy and you have the time you want. So it's like, okay, what do I do with that one talk? You have to learn, I guess, to expand it or to retract it, right? Like
Absolutely. Yes. And sometimes the event producer may say, we're running short. So now you have to do it on the fly. You have to shorten it up on the fly. And again, when you have the signature talk, you are familiar with that information. You can pull from it or you can take away, but you pull the most important things out, and you want to make sure that you share those items with the audience. When you have, and this is where I'm saying you can pull whatever you need from your signature talk. So you can do your introduction, your 30 or 60-second introduction. If you're asked to do a 3-minute infomercial on your business, and that's becoming more and more common, can you get up and speak for 3 minutes? They might have multiple people do 3 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned, maybe you get a 10-minute spotlight, or you could be a featured speaker for 30 minutes. Regardless of the amount of time you have, my goal is that you can say yes and really confidently say yes, not just yes and then go in the corner and panic and say, oh my gosh, now what do I do? The idea is you say yes and you know what you're going to say. You know you have this ready to go. You just need to think about it for a little bit and maybe practice a couple times. If you're going from a 30-minute prepared talk down to 3 minutes, yes, you do need to practice it a couple times so that you know exactly what you're going to say.
And time yourself, put a timer in front of you and pinpoint, the major thing you want to talk about, right?
Yes, and that's very important, Denise, that you make sure you are on time in terms of the amount of time that the event producer tells you. So if they say you have 3 minutes, you better be coming in at about 2:55.
Because they'll cut you out.
Yes.
Or they'll be very unhappy. Or they'll be very unhappy about you and they're never going to invite you again, right?
Exactly. We always want to have this positive experience, and we want you to be great so that they invite you back. And everybody says, ooh, that was a really good speaker. We want to hear her again.
Yeah. So I have a question about, you say have one signature talk that you can adapt, for time and take in, put
Mhm.
in and all that. But I've heard people think that, yeah, but if I say that signature talk, that topic, let's call it a topic because it can be shrink and expand
Sure.
every time I talk, if there's the same people that come to these events, if some of the same people, when they get tired of hearing me talking about it. So what do you say about that?
What I say about that is it's not going to be the exact same audience every time. There will be people in that audience who have not heard you speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not worry about that too much. The other thing is if people have heard your talk before, they still showed up. They're still there in that audience. They know you're the speaker and they know your topic, but they showed up to hear what you're going to say. Maybe, just maybe, they didn't get what they needed the first time they heard you speak.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they didn't take you up on an offer. This time around, they could be your ideal client. They could be
Mm-hmm.
ready to work with you, or just maybe a little more attentive to hear your message. So I wouldn't really worry about, oh, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. People are going to get tired of it. It's never the exact audience every time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think one good point, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's important to actually know what is your audience before
Yes.
you go to an event, right? So how do you get prepared to do that?
You talk to the event producer. Ask some questions. Ask who is in the audience. And really, you want to find out if these are folks that want to hear your message. If they are not people that want to hear your message, they're going to tune out. And you don't want an audience like that. You want an audience that really will value what you're sharing with them. So you will ask some questions about who's in the audience, what is their purpose for being there, and what they do. So, for example, let's say you are going to talk to a networking group. You
Mm-hmm.
want to find out a little more about that networking group. Who are the primary members that they attract? So that if they're, let's say it's a women's group, or let's just go with that. Let's say it's a women's group and maybe they're in multi-level marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to find out a little more about that. What kind of products are they selling? What are they struggling with? And why were you asked to come in and speak? Why did the event producer think you could help them? So
Uh-huh.
just having a conversation with that event producer will help you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want people who are listening to think that we say the exact same thing over and over and over again. You're giving the same talk, but you tweak it. You
Yeah.
do change it up so it's interesting to that particular audience. When you know who the audience is, then you can make those changes so that it is relevant for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I can give an example. Like for me, one of my signature talk that I'm finishing right now is the 3 level of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first level is the I, the second level is the we, and the third level is the they, everybody else.
Yeah.
And so if I talk to woman or couple above 50, the we is really important for their relationship, their close relationship. Where are we going with our relationship? We've been together for 25
Mm-hmm.
years and what's happening now? So that's very important. But if I talk to teenagers, they don't care, right? So it's like, I don't even have a girlfriend yet. But talk about your parents, the relationship with your parents, and that's their we, right? That's their close, their siblings, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe their friend at school, their gang, right? So
Right.
talk about that rather than talk about, how you're gonna enjoy your retirement. So, but it's the
Right.
same talk, it's the same topic, it's the same 3 levels, it's the same structure in some ways, just bring different words in order to reach the audience better.
Right. And you would emphasize and spend more time on the section that actually applies to that audience.
Mm-hmm.
And something you just mentioned about using the words that apply to that audience, you really want to make sure you're speaking their language
Yeah.
and using the words that they use.
Mm-hmm.
Then they will hear you. If you are using words, let's say, as you mentioned, to a group of teenagers, if you or I go in there and speak just like we normally would to each other, they will most likely tune us out. We have to really be using the words and the phrasing that the kids use today.
Yeah, we need a bit of research, but yeah, it's
Right.
possible.
Or the younger people, how
Yeah,
and just how
do,
they live their lives and how they communicate.
yeah, and do research. Like, go talk to a couple of teenagers if that's the case, or even like people in their 20s and 30s. They would think differently. They would act differently. They would, differently than 50s, 60s, right? Like
Right.
it's totally different thing. So that's amazing. So in general, someone like me, an entrepreneur that wants to do public speaking, and so what is the best way? I'm asking for myself and others that are listening. So since I have you here, so what's the best way to find speaking engagement that are paying speaking engagement, the ATM one? So how do you find people that would pay you to speak at their event?
Well, there's actually a couple different forms of speaking, and what you're referencing, if you want to go on stage and give what is called a keynote talk or a keynote speech, those are typically paid just for showing up and speaking.
Okay.
Then there are the speaking for free, which, wink, 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 you will have an offer embedded in there. You just need to confirm with the event producer that you can make an offer. And that's the part of the ATM that works for you.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure it's an offer that your audience will be interested in and accept. And they will come into your world and bring them into your world, your ecosystem, whatever you want to label that, and get to know them. And eventually, hopefully, they become clients. So that one is my favorite. And there is another one, it's referred to as pay to play. And those are sponsorships where you pay for the opportunity to get up in front of, excuse me, where you pay to get up in front of somebody else's audience to speak. And again, also make an offer, which always talk to the event producer about what type of offer you can make.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how those last two are where it comes in as the ATM machine. You can make more money that way with an offer than, say, going in and speaking for a flat fee. So this is, those last two are more of my favorites than the first one.
Yeah. And what's there are people that might reach out to you because they heard you speak and they enjoy, what you talk, they enjoy your personality, they enjoy what you talk about, even though that might not even be what you're going to be talking on their stage. But there's these people, and they are also people that are looking for a speaker, but they don't know you. So what's the best way to go get these people with your signature talk, and then say, hey, I have a talk? And so what's the best way to reach these people?
So very similar to what we said about finding out about your audience, you want to start doing some research about, it really falls under that same umbrella of the audience. You want to start doing some research about where your audience is hanging out. If you are looking to go to conferences or maybe go to summits, summits are very big right now, virtual summits in particular.
Yeah.
You'll want to start doing some research about who is putting together the summits and who is putting together conferences. If you are, let's say you are in tech and you want to speak to people who are tech professionals, you want to do some research, Google tech conferences for fourth quarter 2020 2022 or 2023. And they will have, you'll see a list of them will pop up because they plan those pretty far in advance.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is you can Google call for speakers.
Okay.
Yes. But you really need to narrow down the different categories that you want. Otherwise, you'll have this huge amount of returns.
Yeah.
For call for speakers.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's out there. There are so many speaking opportunities out there, more than we've ever had, because people are creating their own stages, just like you did, Denise.
Here we are,
people, right?
Over a year later.
Anybody can create a stage. So there are so many opportunities out there. You just need to put a little work in and do some research, but also really know who you want to get in front of. You don't want to waste your time, waste the organizer's time, waste the audience time by spending time in front of a group who's really not going to appreciate or value from what you're saying. So you need to do some research and a little bit of work on that. Wonderful.
Well, it's all about, you got to promote yourself. So you got to find out, like, you don't do a conference on relationship, for me, like the 3 level of relationship, in front of people that want to know how computer works. Right. They could benefit from it, obviously, but that's not the purpose of that conference. So you read the breakout of that conference and say, oh, am I fitting in here? Is what I have to say congruent with the conference or with the program? So that makes a lot of sense.
Right. You're spot on with that, Denise. It has to make sense. If you're applying to be part of a conference, what you are bringing in terms of value has to make sense for their attendees. And producer, again, they're not going to appreciate it if you waste their time with coming in to talk about, again, if we go back to the idea of a tech conference, if you're coming in to discuss, I don't know, how aquariums benefit, I don't know, something.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Totally unrelated. Yeah.
There's something that doesn't mesh with it.
Yeah, you go talk about teenager, how to raise your teenager.
Right. That's
a bunch of 30 years old. It's like, I don't even have kids yet,
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I can see the importance of that for sure. So, so how would someone even start to think about a signature talk? Like, now I found my signature talk. It took me a while, to find something that I feel deep inside of me and that I'm passionate to talk about. But how do someone actually go and find that? Like, what would you recommend the steps for people to do that? Because they say, yeah, signature talk, that's nice. Well, I don't know what I would talk about.
Right. So again, there's a little bit of work to be done, maybe a lot of work. I don't want to scare people away with that. But if we talk about the small business owner, typically they are doing something that, number one, they enjoy, and hopefully they love it. And there's a reason why they love it, which helps to know that. And you kind of work from there. The whole idea of, why are you doing this business? And you start to put together your talk based on that. Then there's some market research that's involved. And again, I don't want to scare people into thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to do all this. What I do is I have actually, I just finished creating this. It's 5 steps to a signature talk, which is unheard of, because when you talk to some other speaking coaches, they're looking at these long-term programs. Kind of just lumbers along. People really want to shorten that process. So I came up with 5 steps. Nice. Yes. And what I do is it's very much an interview style. There's worksheets involved, but it's really interview style. And your answers become the signature talk.
Cool.
So it really makes it such an easy process compared to what it's been in the past. But I don't want to sugarcoat it. There's still some work
There's lots of work
involved.
to do.
Yes.
Even my signature talks still need work, you know.
You
But
know
at
what? We're
least,
all a work in progress,
oh,
Denise.
for sure, for
Yes.
sure. But I have to admit, it took me the best way for me, the way it came out is to go and talk. And
Yes.
eventually things like I would say mainly the same thing, but then decide to change it a little bit here, change it a little bit there. And
Mhm.
eventually that idea came up because I was like, oh, I'm talking about this, but then I'm talking about that. But then I realized that that is good and that is good. It's like, oh, I could put that all together. And in the end, that's what I got my signature talk. But it took
Yeah.
me since I would say at least 6 months, but a
Mhm.
year of talking, a year of going to other people's podcast or other people's talk or doing summits or doing this and that. It took me about a year in
Yes.
total of speaking to really come up with like, oh, wow. Yeah, I love that. I could see myself do a TED talk on that. Right.
Right. To
Because
the
it's
point where it
so,
feels good for you to
yeah,
say it, to share the
it's
message.
so profound and it's so, I feel that people when they listen to it, it's like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right?
Mhm.
And before a year ago, or even a year and a half ago, it was like me doing a TED talk. Never. I'm not there yet, but I could see that could be a possibility, right?
Right. Now there's that aspiration of, I need to share this with the world. I'm going to do a TED talk.
Yeah, like practicing it and going on stages and talking and refining it and talking to people like you to say, hey, here's my talk, how do you see it being perfected and what can I do better? What can I change? That's at the level. Once I'm there, then it's like, yeah, reach out and ask for help because
Mhm.
there's professional out there that have a good ear,
Yes.
that, yeah, Toastmaster is great, but the people that evaluates you are not, like you, like
Right.
professional that
It's
have done
different.
that for years,
I
right?
and I love Toastmasters.
Oh, I
It
love
really
to,
gave
yeah,
me my start, but there is a
absolutely.
difference with in Toastmasters. They teach you how to put a speech together
Yeah,
and a lot of the mechanics with giving a speech, which is a wonderful, wonderful place to start. I love it. I
absolutely.
would
Like
never say
if you're
anything bad
afraid to
about
pick up the
Toastmasters.
mic, go to Toastmasters. That's the
Right.
best place for you to be, for sure.
Right. The difference between Toastmasters and what I do is I will help you apply it more to things outside of Toastmasters
Yeah.
and make it much more usable in your life
And for your
versus
business,
saying,
like the
right,
ATM, right?
right. Instead of, here's how you put a speech together, we're putting together a talk that is a marketing tool for your business.
Wonderful. I
Mhm.
like that. I like that a lot. So now people have heard what you have to say. They heard who you are and what you do. So how can people reach you?
So I would say send me an email and put in the subject line Denise so that I know that you came from hearing this show.
Yeah.
But I have a really easy email to remember. It's speakingpays@gmail.com.
Speaking pays, like, yeah, hello.
Right. Speakingpays@gmail.com. Send me an
Wonderful.
email. If you have any questions, I'm happy to chat with you. I love meeting new people. So yeah, send me an email.
Perfect. And do you have a gift for our audience?
I do. One of the positives that's really come out of these whole last couple of bizarre years is this virtual platform.
Yeah.
When would I have ever met you, Denise? Right? We're what, 2,000 miles apart. How would we have ever met?
Yeah, I know. I'm in
So
Vancouver,
I
you're in
do.
Chicago, I love
Yes,
Chicago's airport, actually, by the way. I was there once. It really shocked me. It was like, wow, this is pretty.
it is pretty. But yeah, O'Hare is pretty. Anyway, so I do love the virtual platform. We get to meet people from all over the world, all over the
Mhm.
country. And my gift today is the virtual speakers checklist. It will
Ooh,
help you prepare to be fantastic in front of a virtual audience.
I have to download that for sure. And I'll
Yeah.
put that in the comment of wherever you're listening to this. Go to show notes or to the comments, and the information will be there with the email of Theresa. So
Yes.
you'll be able to reach her there. So before we go, one last gem that you could share with our audience.
Ooh, my favorite, and it will be so memorable. Speaking is your fastest path to cash.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ka-ching. Show me the money.
Yes. So
That's
don't be
fabulous.
afraid. Do it. Do it. Get out there and do it.
And I agree. Like, I mean, the first time, like, I'm listening back at audition, like not audition, but speaking engagement, whether it's a podcast or something that I did years ago. And I'm listening to how I speak now. I'm like, oh my God, can you take it down? But I don't, because it's my path. It's
Right.
where I've been, and now, and Toastmasters. What I love the most about Toastmasters is the table topic. So for those that don't know what table topic is they give you have no idea what you'll be talking about. They give you a line, a sentence, a question, and you have 2 minutes to talk about it, 2 to 2.5
Right.
minutes to talk about it, and then you get up and go. I love it. I love table topics.
It's a big challenge. That's a big challenge.
Yeah, it is. Some people just talk for 15 seconds and it's like,
Right.
thank you.
To try to figure out, what do I say?
And the
Here's
structure,
topic,
right?
what do
Like
I
you have to have an
say?
introduction, a body, and then a conclusion, and put it all together in 2 minutes. And you have like 5 seconds to think about it.
Right. But now I'm going to tie it back to your signature talk or your ATM talk. You won't get stuck in that situation when you have a signature talk, because when somebody asks you about your business, boom,
Yeah,
you know what
like,
to say. You don't have to go into that panic mode of, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and you can say it in 2 minutes, or you can say it in, the simple one is like, hey, I have a 3 level of relationship, system that can help people live longer and happier and retired happy. So it's like, oh, how do you do that?
Right.
So that was my 15-second, of my of my 15-minute talk, right?
And mine would be speaking pays. So let's talk about how speaking is your fastest path to cash.
Ooh.
Boom. Mic drop.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here today with me. Just stay there. I'll go say goodbye to the audience and I'll be right back with you. So, wow, I hope you enjoyed this talk today, and it was lots of gem. And if you're looking into speaking anywhere, even if it's speaking with your friends or speaking for your business and bringing money while speaking, this talk will have helped you a lot. So take Theresa's deal, special, and go download that checklist so that you can really grow your business and help yourself become a better speaker. So until next time, I wish you an amazing week. I'll be back here next Monday, every Monday at noon Pacific time. Until then, be kind to one another and have a good week. Goodbye.